Yo, come on, move this. Shake that body. Shake that body. Shake that
Okay,
body.
everybody, this is Dr. Ed Park from Recharge Biomedical, and today we're going to be discussing exercise and fitness, and there'll be a short presentation, about 15-20 minutes, followed by interviews with David Purnett, who's on the call, and also Carrie Atwood, who is also an elite athlete. And then we'll take questions, and we'll do the drawing for the free bottle of TA65. All right, let me turn off the entry chimes here. I don't know why I'm hearing this. Okay, everybody, so this is Dr. Ed Park. Thanks for everyone for joining. Today we're going to talk about exercise and fitness, and I apologize that the webinar has been away for like 5 or 6 weeks. We got pretty heavily into Little League, and so that took a lot of time and a bunch of other things. So let's get started here. The first slide is interesting slide showing the ages, the average ages of competitors. In the blue is the freestyle skiing. So most of the people around 20 to 24 with the tailing off as they get older. But interesting, you think of curling as kind of the punchline of sports, you know. These guys maybe losing a little hair, a little pungy around the midsection. But actually, curlers are elite athletes too, and the curve is largely the same. And again, the take-home lesson here is it's all downhill, no pun intended for the skiers, but for all of us after 25, sadly. And what I mean by that is if you look at all measurements, nail growth being one of the most correlated with one's health and not coincidentally telomerase activity, after the age of 25, the velocity of nail growth, whatever population you study, declines. Here is lung function, lung capacity. After 25, decline. And you can go ahead and graph whatever you like here, fertility, libido, skin thickness, attractiveness, who knows. It's all downhill after 25, sadly. So that's what we call a downward spiral. The downward spiral of aging upon our exercise is multifactorial, but of course would include loss in muscle capacity and the strength of those muscles, deterioration in joint flexibility and stability. We talked about that extensively in podcast 8 with back pain, showing an interesting example of disc regeneration after taking TA65. But also joints, of course, in the hips, in the knees for runners, road warriors, in the shoulders for tennis players and elbows, golfers, low back. So anytime you're using it, it's putting some wear and tear. There could be repair, and the joints are not really well vascularized. So although the stem cells are trying to repair at night, they don't always get caught up. Another factor in decreasing performance is bone health. The bones weaken as a result of inactivity, really, but also as a result of metabolic reasons and loss of hormones, especially in the case of menopausal women. Of course, the exercise is going to suffer if you got a little more girth around the midsection. Likewise, we saw the lung capacity graph. So as you get older, you just lose functional units of breathing. So your lungs just become less elastic and less able to circulate oxygen, which would be correlated with red blood cells and those reactions. Also, circulatory efficiency, the ability to get the blood out to where it's needed, decreases or deteriorates as the arteries stiffen and as the heart grows less efficient in its pumping and its general function. Also, hormone levels drop precipitously in women around the age of 50, but for men it's gradual, and so there is no real andropause per se. So what's the common pathway to decline or conversely to recovery? And I would argue that it's telomerase activity.
People, don't you know it's about time. Can you hear the jam is pumping while you taste a piece of mind? Many different flavors and the spice is strong. Getting to the hot stuff, let me pour a little song. Baby, let me show you how to do
see a guy like Jack LaLanne who dies at 95, 96. His telomerase activity was maximal. I mean, he said he didn't use steroids, although maybe he was using something else like HGH. But he, through the virtues of exercise, rest, taking a good juice diet, like he used to sell at Juicer, all those things were conspiring via one common pathway, which I believe is telomerase activity. So here's a study done by one of the three Nobel laureates, Elizabeth Blackburn, and what she decided to do was to look at 30 men associated with the UCSF Medical Center who were diagnosed with prostate cancer. And for 3 months, she taught them to exercise, eat well, sleep, and meditate. And the upshot of which was the intervention, although it was a pilot study, it did have a direct effect upon the LDL, their LDL cholesterol, decrease in their psychological distress, and this was mediated directly by the measured telomerase activity. So the point of this is we're not machines. The reason why we're not machines is machines, you overwork them, they break down. Whereas people, if you overwork them, they get healthier. And the mediator of that is telomerase activity. Muscle damage is an important part of exercise performance, and there are these muscle stem cells called satellite cells indicated here in the green. So these are less differentiated cells with a high telomerase activity. Remember that our stem cells, or cells that are stem-like, can do two things. They can make a copy of themselves, and then something more differentiated, and they can reproduce forever because of telomerase activity. So if you do damage to your muscle, what happens is the satellite cell will reproduce rapidly, and that will come in and fix that area. But, of course, the satellite cell can only be as good as its most recent mother. The daughter will only be as good as the mother. So as these stem cells, over time, over billions and billions of copying, they acquire errors, and they get older by virtue of their telomere shortening. And so the principle that we've discussed in many of their podcasts, you can go back to podcast 3 if you like, is that both cells have these ends on their chromosomes called telomeres, which shorten, and as a cell divides over and over and over again, the telomeres shorten to the point where the DNA is not protected, and they die. And that's called the Hayflick limit. So after 60 divisions, think of it as a full tank of gas. After 60 divisions, most cells that don't have telomerase will just run out of gas. But cells that are telomerase active, like stem cells, they have like a hybrid engine, so they can actually recharge their telomeres and live on indefinitely. Body mass. So BMI, or body mass index, is a simple measurement of your weight versus your height. But of course, it doesn't take into account the fact that if you were an extremely muscular person, like a bodybuilder, you could be obese by the charts or have a BMI over 25. But since muscle weighs so much more, you could have 0% body fat. So it's just a general, and actually a pretty good correlate of how heavy you are, but there are exceptions. Generally, there are three ways of thinking of people. There's ectomorphs, who are skinny, hard to gain weight, mesomorphs, who are muscular build, and endomorphs, who have shorter limbs and put on weight easier. So what's the problem with fat? Well, I think that one of the presidential elections they said, it's the economy, stupid. Well, in this case, the fat is strictly a function of aging. And this is borne out in a recent study. This is done in a population of Japanese people. It's not even published at April 1st, but EPUB 2011. And what they did was they divided people into skinny, or BMI of 18 to 23, normal 23 to 27, and what we consider obese or heavy 27 or higher. And they found that the belly fat was correlated with age in all three types of bodies. It didn't matter if you were Jack Sprat or his wife, you basically got more body fat as you got older, and it because of the aging. So what's the principle we're talking about here? Well, in some ways, we are like machines. We have oxidative stress, just like machines will rust. So people are interested in taking antioxidants. But the real problem is replicative senescence, which is the copying of the DNA. So when you copy the DNA, it gets damaged and it gets shorter. It has to get shorter. So the cells age, which is fine because you have certain master copies called stem cells. So what is the principle of driving? Well, when you drive, if you drive 2 million miles, guess what? You're going to have every car part break down. Everyone knows that. Just in the same way, if you lived 300 years, every one of your cancer or every one of your organs will become cancerous. It's just friction is to car parts, pistons, brakes, as DNA copying is to our cells. So it's really, we need to shift our paradigm away from thinking that, oh, I get cancer because it's my Aunt Bessie had cancer. No, it's because those cells are copying over and over again. And so in this way, if you look at brake dust, basically a lot of our medical models are looking at the brake dust, saying, oh, well, you need to treat the cholesterol, you need to treat the diabetes, you need to treat the hypertension. When I believe that those are just the signs of aging, and the real process is aging itself. So belly fat is actually the result of aging, just as diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol, atherosclerosis, and every single cancer are the results of long-term replicated senescence. So what's up with exercise? Well, again, I argue that telomerase activity is increased by exercise, but also by other healthy lifestyles. But in particular, this study, 2011 February, again, this is a very hot subject in all the medical and physiological fields. Here they looked at people who were aerobic trainers, people who had a high oxygen capacity, both in the young, older, and also in the sedentary and older. And you can look at this citation yourself, but what they found was that when you measure the telomeres in their white blood cells, that the older people who exercised had about the same telomere length as the younger people who were couch potatoes. So again, this is arguing that it's actually the exercise that is keeping people young, which is something we all know and believe and accept. Now, shifting gears, we talk about anabolic. So anabolic is from the Greek ana, to grow or to build up, versus catabolic, which is to break down. So anabolics are things which will make you bigger and stronger, or at least help to reproduce the cells quicker. Interesting technology, 3 years old, is this gene chip. It's a postage stamp size thing with about 16,000 little wells. And what you can do is you can put any test molecule into this gene chip and see how the human DNA expression is changed. And so you get these little peaks and what have you. So if you want to test, aspirin or Tabasco sauce, I guess you could do that. Here we test testosterone, dihydrotestosterone here, and this is a synthetic analog. And what's indicated is the red is upregulated genes, the blue is downregulated genes. So this is all 16,000 messenger RNA products of the human genome. And if you count these up, there's about 900 things that are up or down. Of course, we have Arnold here, who was a user of steroids, and it certainly helped his career. So the effects of taking testosterone are brain cancer, heart attack, stroke. Of course, men get breast growth because testosterone is converted to female hormones as well. Liver cancer, abdominal pain, kidney disease, jaundice, probably from the liver. Acne, bad breath, deepening of the voice, atrophy of the testicles, impotence, hyperlipidemia, and what they call roid rage, or just, being aggressive, I guess. Very popular experiment. I mean, if we're talking about thousands who've taken TA65, it's on the order of millions of men over the last decade who've started to take this thing called human growth hormone. Human growth hormone is an essentially it's an essential part of being alive, just as thyroid hormone is. You can't live without it. And it peaks at 2 a.m. when you're trying to repair. But, question is, if you take too much of a good thing, of course, you start to get into this superhero mode here. This gentleman's probably 60-something, and yet his body is arguably not normal for a 60-something-year-old guy. So what are the long-term effects of doing this to yourself every day or every week? Well, I would perhaps in the low physiologic doses, not much, or actually beneficial. Of a lot of patients who come to me, stop HGH, or they continue on. And this chart, although it's not legible here, it is legible on my website, is the same gene chip results with HGH. It's not 900, but it's about maybe 40 or 50 different genes turned up or down, and you can see the effects of human growth hormone. And of course, the middle word is growth. So that's supercharging your cell gene expression. In contrast, the reason TA65 is so safe and limited is that there's literally only 8 genes when you run it through that chip that are increased in their expression, and a mild order, like 2 times the expression. And these, if you look, are all involved with DNA repair and copying. So that's, of course, what you want when you're making healthy copies of stem cells. So this is the last slide I have. It's called the upward spiral. We started with the downward spiral, and what I want to get into today with our 2 guests is the upward spiral. So as you get older, you tend to want to exercise less. It takes longer to recover. You don't have the energy, and it just is not as fun. And as a result, you get heavier. Your joints and muscles and everything is a little less honed, and you get worse. What I notice a lot with my TA patients is that it's a chicken and egg thing. I call them up 2 weeks, a month, and as needed, and they always have this, chicken egg causality issue. So, like for example, I was in yoga, which I do once a week, and one of my 53-year-old patients tapped me on the shoulder, "Hey, you do yoga? Great, I feel great." But he had told me a month earlier that he didn't think the TA65 was doing anything. He thought it was the yoga that made him feel so amazing. And so I said, yeah, that could be. But it's all good once you start getting in the upward spiral. But then in the parking lot later, he told me that he was unable to do yoga for 7 years because of back pain. So, you can argue who gets the credit or the blame, but what seems to be fairly consistent across the board is this letter I got just 2 days ago from one of my patients in England, a PhD, Dr. Chide, who pretty much summarized what everyone experiences, which is this. Interestingly, even though my food intake hasn't changed, I've lost 4 pounds around the waist. This may be due to the fact that I have felt revitalized enough to increase my exercise load with more intense cycling. It's hard to say, really. And so that's a very common experience. People have good changes, but then they're not suckers. They don't just want a placebo effect. So they look and they say, well, what are the other things I've changed? And certainly the exercise does change. But it's a chicken and egg thing. A month before starting TA, you couldn't drag yourself out of bed. A month after, you're racing up hills with no problem with exertion or stamina. So whoever wants to get the credit for that, take it. But the fact is that taking TA65 for many people is an upward spiral, and it's transformative and truly life-changing. So I'm going to interview 2 people. The first being Carrie Atwood. Carrie?
Yes.
Hi, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. How are you?
Fabulous.
Good.
So were you able to hear the webinar?
Yes. Very
cool.
interesting stuff.
So here's you. You look pretty fit there. This is what, 5 years ago?
Yes.
That's amazing. Where is that anyway? The competition.
Excalibur in Culver City.
Oh, okay. So it's a bodybuilding competition?
Figure. It's a cross between bodybuilding and bikini contest.
Nice. Well, you just look amazing there. That's a lot of work that goes into that, I'm sure.
Thank you.
We tested your heart and your lungs and everything, and And you started taking one capsule a day for the last 6 weeks. And tell us a little bit about what you've noticed in the last 6 weeks.
Well, I have on my right knee because of this bodybuilding. I hurt my right knee doing squats, and so for the last 2 years, it's been bothering me when I sit down for too long. And since I've been taking this, that ache has gone away almost entirely. Just every once in a while I'll feel it, but for the most part it's gone. As far as my cardio, I do cardio about 5 times a week and anywhere from 45 to 60 minutes, and then I'll go down and do some weightlifting. And I didn't do cardio except aside from this show. I didn't really do cardio except for my 20s. That's when I did the most cardio. But now I'm doing cardio, and it doesn't even seem to bother me. It's like after 30 minutes, I feel like I'm just getting warmed up. It's insane.
Wow. So you
Yeah,
just feel like you're able to just go harder and longer? What was the problem with the cardio in the 30s?
I don't know. I just got tired and bored, and I don't know. It just doesn't seem to faze me right now.
Really?
Pretty cool. And my diet, my overall diet has changed, and my just love for life is just intensified.
Really? Interesting. So it's really kind of on every level you feel like you're getting maybe younger, do you think, or kind of backing it up?
Definitely.
Interesting.
Definitely. My skin and my face changed. It's gotten like the wrinkles right around my eyes. I was doing Botox. I don't think I need to do Botox. It's starting to go away.
That's good. You save a little money there on the Botox, so that's good.
Yeah, a lot of money.
Well, you seem really lean here, so I don't know much about bodybuilding. I'm not much of a gym rat. So tell me, the cardio, does that help to burn off the fat? Is that why you did it for competition?
Yes. Yeah, that was a must. And that required 2 hours a day of cardio.
Wow. Wow. And so your diet, is it more or less carbs now, or is it the same, or how do you?
I've changed my diet up a little bit. I eat a lot of salmon. I eat a lot of antioxidants, a lot of vegetables. Well, I've always eaten a lot of fruits and vegetables, but it's changed. It's changed a little bit, and I think that's because of my overall zest for life. I've just kind of gone back to the way I was in my 20s, early 30s. Just really excited about, waking up in the morning and eating right is part of that.
Yeah, it's part of the upward spiral. People, they improve their diet, they improve their exercise, they feel better about things, they start new projects. It's kind of the opposite of kind of aging and getting more decrepit. But yeah, you look amazing here. And so when you go hard with the weight training, let's say you do like 8 or 10 reps at maximum capacity, or what do you do to build? Are you toning?
I'm toning, yes.
Okay.
So I'll do higher reps, lower weight.
I see. And do you feel like the muscles heal faster than in say, Sport PA?
Yes, definitely.
And
it's amazing stuff.
Really? So you're not as sore?
No, the soreness will subside after a couple of days, and whereas before it would take probably 4 to 5 days, and that actually, because it took so long, it would make me go to the gym less because I didn't want to be that sore for the following week.
And do you take any Motrin or anything like that?
No.
Okay, so you're still really in good health. Good. How's your sleep been? How's everything else?
Sleep is pretty good.
Good. All right. So all in all, you'd say it's pretty positive for the last 6 weeks?
I would say it's very positive. I love it. I love it.
Great. Well, all right. Well, we look forward to seeing you in the next Excalibur bikini/weightlifting competition. Is there anything else you want to share with the people that are listening, or?
No, not really.
Okay.
I love it.
All right, well, stay on. You know, you might win a free bottle. So,
Awesome.
yeah. Thanks, Carrie. Really appreciate it.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Our next guest/patient on here, and that's David. Hello, David.
I am now unmuted.
Oh, he's great. You look very handsome here, David. You look like
Problem is,
Kyle
I can't.
MacLachlan.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the image to load there. So I'm assuming that's me in my in one of my double-breasted suits.
I love it. You look simply irresistible here. It's very early '90s.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You look like
it's
you
not
look
early
better
90s.
looking than Kyle MacLachlan, I would say.
Actually, that's assuming it's the same picture I'm thinking of. I think that's 1997, somewhere in that neighborhood. And it was interesting because at that time, you know, I was still getting carded for alcohol everywhere I went, even at the grocery store. So
I love it. You kind of look like American Psycho. You look like Christian Bale a little bit there. Anyway, it looks like you're a lady killer in that picture. I hesitate to say.
Well, thank you. Well, I actually edited out the girlfriend who was sitting next to me.
Yes, as we must in life. We must crop our memories.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Well, anyway, so David, let me just give you a quick intro here. This lovely gentleman is 48-year-old former runner. You were really a short and long-distance runner in high school.
I was basically a sprinter in high school, but they don't have sprinting in the fall. And rather than play football and get injured, I ran cross country, and I barely made the team as a cross country runner because there were so many phenomenal athletes in my. In fact, there were no less than 2 world record holders on my track team for their age level.
What school is this?
Well, I won't go into the specifics, but because I want to maintain a certain amount of anonymity. But let's put it this way: one of my classmates got a track scholarship to UCLA.
Wow.
They were phenomenal athletes, and I was 2 years younger than most everybody else because I had skipped a grade, and I was already young for my grade. So I was. That's one of the reasons I didn't stay with athletics as a career.
Well, you know,
anyway.
It's interesting. Yeah. So you start, taking TA65 at a 4 times the dose of Carrie, but for the last 5 weeks, and even throughout your 30s.
I'm actually taking 2 pills a day.
Okay. So you're sharing with Mom.
Right. Mom is 30 years older than me. She's 78, but I weigh twice as much as she does. So that's only fair that I. So basically, I figured 1 would probably be good, but after talking to you, I decided that 2 was the better dose.
Yeah, and I think that for elite athletes, you know, people who, you know, want to stay at the top of their game and need to heal quickly and perform, I think 4 is even better. I mean, to be honest with you, but
it may be.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. It may be. The thing I noticed was that originally when I was talking to you, the bigger concern I had was the things that I couldn't seem to get rid of, which were the belly fat and the man breasts. And regardless of how much exercise I did, they didn't go away. And part of that problem was the what I call the workout hangover, which you addressed earlier, and that is, you know, you get a good workout and then 2 days of stiffness and soreness and so forth. I travel quite a bit, so I really can't afford. Yeah, and I try to carry my own luggage, so I really couldn't afford to be, you know, basically lame for 2 days out of 3. So that prevented me from exercising regularly. That was one of my biggest excuses until I started taking TA65. So workout hangover is gone, is what I'm trying to say.
So let's say when you're in the top photo, you're 34, you're only 180 pounds, 6'2", is it, or
6'3".
3, yeah, you're a tall guy. So you could blaze along at a 5.5 minute mile, and you would do the 10Ks in 35 minutes. So tell me
about 30 minutes.
What's a world record pace for a 10K?
I would say that I'd have to say about they'd be running about probably 4.5 to 4 and 4:45 minute mile, and That's basically when I was in high school, I would run a 53-second quarter mile at the age of 16, and that means that I'd have to do that to be a world record holder. I'd have to do that every single quarter mile, and I don't think that's. I mean, who knows? I mean, I suppose it's possible. The strange thing was, as I got older, the mile times kept coming down, and the quarter mile times kept going up. So it's
so there's some
I do
compression there in your performance curve, yeah. But in terms of you were peak really in your mid-30s, and then what happened to your mid-40s to get you to the bottom guy at 43 and to put on 65 pounds?
Well, as I said, the workout hangover was the single biggest problem. In other words, the weight didn't. In the past, if I had an injury or if I laid off for a few months, all I had to do was start running again, and within weeks I would be back in shape. It would take me about 6 weeks to train for a race, and then after I realized all of a sudden the weight just wasn't coming off. It didn't matter how long or how hard I ran, the weight would not come off. I'd lose maybe 5 or 10 pounds, and my performance was just it was not worth it. It was simply not worth running. It would take me an hour to run what I used to run in 35 minutes, and like I said, I was sore 2 days out of 3. It was.
And did you get any Osgood slaughter or any kind of knee damage or?
That was a concern I had. I thought maybe I should take up swimming or something because at this weight I might be doing damage to my limbs and so forth. But other than the occasional sprained ankle and sprained shoulder that I suffered, just as usually walking, I might add, I never really suffered any serious sports injuries.
So now compare and contrast, like for the last 5 weeks, how has it been at all different for you?
Well, the one thing and this is you were talking about the chicken or the egg problem. For me, it was more. One of the things I'd always read about was people that used to be athletes that they went through their midlife crisis and decided they were going to get back into shape, and then they'd have a coronary of some type. And so I was reluctant to really go whole hog, but I would do like a brisk walk and so forth, and I was doing yoga. And then when I went to your office, you did my heart and lungs, and you confirmed that they were still in great shape, as I suspected, because I haven't done anything bad. I just haven't done enough good. And then I after getting a clean bill of health, I decided, okay, well, I'm just going to go full bore. My resting pulse was still pretty healthy. It was in the low 50s. Actually, I think it was about 56 when I was at your office. But I decided to just go full bore and see, if I still experienced that workout hangover. And miraculously, it was gone. I felt it for about 30. I felt the workout for about 30 minutes. At that time, about the week before, I was running about an 11-minute mile pace in my workouts for 40 minutes, and then literally the day after I started taking TA65, it was down to about 9.5 minutes, and I'm somewhere between 8.5 minutes and 9 minutes right now.
Wow.
And
a lot of that, in all fairness, could be placebo effect, but I think what's a little bit hard to deny
not the workout.
The workout
hangover.
Right?
Yeah, that's
what I
gone.
hear a lot is that, sure, you can resolve to take better care, you got a new attitude, blah, 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 but the fact that you're just sore for so much longer as you get into your 30s and 40s, it's a difference. But now, not so much?
Not at all. I mean, literally, what I have to do now is, and this is one of the things that, one of the other excuses that a lot of people have for stopping their workout is, the single biggest thing I have to worry about now is that steaming pile of wet laundry. That, you know what I'm saying? That's the big problem. So I have to allow myself about 2 hours, so 40 minutes to run, maybe 5 or 10 minutes to psych myself up. But after I start running, it's effortless.
I was talking to a patient of mine who just mountain biked up a mountain. He's 48 also, or 46. And he said he's never done that mountain biking, and in only 2 weeks, it's like the stamina, the oxygen carrying, just never got winded. So do you feel like your ability to just be aerobic is improved at all?
That's, I was going to address that. It's more like I'm turning back the clock, because the one thing that's different now, as I said, is that there is no workout hangover, and I reached in that photo that you see there, I had reached the point where I couldn't get my resting pulse above 80. I mean, not my resting pulse, but during a workout, it was hard to get my resting pulse above 80. And as soon as I stopped working out, it would drop down below 60. I used to donate blood platelets every 2 weeks, and I would have to eat a full meal and park my car a half mile away and do a brisk walk to the just to get my heartbeat above 50. And essentially, the workouts, the one thing that is noticeable, as I said, is that there's absolutely no workout hangover regardless of how far I've gone. It's a turning back the clock to when I was in good health, although I'm not yet as fast as I once was. I anticipate that will happen. That as time goes by, I see whatever is happening internally is the repairs are slow and methodical. Somebody asked what do I weigh right now, and on the thing there. And when I went into your office, I think I weighed in at 246, and this week I'm between 230 and 235. It goes up and down as much. It goes up as much as after a run I will lose about 3 pounds of water. I've come to the conclusion. Yeah.
But in all fairness, you're putting in the work and you deserve the credit. But the chicken and egg comes in.
Somebody else is doing the cleanup. Somebody else is doing the cleanup. It's like talking about the chicken and eggs. I'm leaving the broken eggs, and they're getting cleaned up by the TA-65. I'm just making the omelet. Somebody else has to do the cleanup work, and I do attribute that.
Metaphor macrame. I'm confused now. I don't even know what you're talking about, but it sounds right. I want to get some questions here. So if people have questions, just click over on the left, call info.
From a very early age, I had decided that running was the key to immortality. I especially just from an actuarial basis, most long-distance runners die in car accidents or of suicide. So I figure as long as I don't get depressed and I stay away from cars, I'll be fine. So.
Okay. All right, Judy.
Yes,
Judy,
yes.
you are on, my friend.
This is so very interesting and of very, very high interest to me. I'm 70 years old, and the reason this is of interest to me is because I am interested in maintaining the quality of my life for as long as I'm here on Earth. That's my number one interest. And I'm wondering if this gentleman, who he said is 78, if she is on this product.
The one thing she noticed immediately, and once again, there's the placebo effect. You really don't know if it's the chicken or egg, the whole thing. But the one thing that was unmistakable is she told me that her nails started to get harder. She'd been having trouble with her nails not growing as strongly. And her hair and nails.
Yeah.
Well, they were basically, she didn't have the long, luscious nails that she used to have, and when she started taking this, she said they started to get stronger, and they didn't peel back as she had described it. She's sort of my canary in the coal mine. I figure I share at least 50% of my DNA with her, so if I can keep her alive for another 1,000 years, then I'll be...
You're not quite that greedy, but we'll take it one day at a time, but hope for decades. Let's see. Bob is asking me belly fat. Yeah, well, Bob, you know me from way back, a couple of years now, and my belly fat went away. And I think the mechanism is apoptosis. There are a lot of fat cells that are dysfunctional and damaged, and the P53 is trying to kill them, but it can't. So the telomerase activation allows those telomeres to be just long enough to help those cells get destroyed and replaced. That's the only reason I can think why the fat would go away. So there's a lot of things that work here, improving the exercise performance. But again, it's just all about the upward spiral. So I'm going to actually do the drawing because I know people got to get out of here. So can I get Brenda and Susie, our lovely assistants, to do the drawing, and we will announce the lucky winner.
Somebody wrote that they wanted to know how I came to afford it, and as I said, I had just sort of made the decision, and then it was just a matter of giving myself a birthday present. So for my 48th birthday, I started TA-65.
It's a leap of faith, isn't it? But once you start feeling the benefits, it really is not hard to justify, especially in light of the fact that, it's permanent repair. It's not like it's just while you're taking it. You're really fixing cells for life. So it's really pushing
Well,
back a lot of those appointments with cancer and other things, I think.
The work it literally became a process of just everything I read, and then finally I read something that really put it over the edge for me, and that was that it was repairing the short telomeres,
That's right.
not the. And that's that's what I want. I want the short ones fixed. I don't want everything long. I just want the ones that are ready to jump off the edge.
That's exactly right, because that's where the rubber meets the road. Literally, if you get those telomeres too short, then basically it's like a bald tire, and that's when you get a blowout. So it only takes one end of one chromosome to go bad to give you a cancer. So it's literally on the single molecule level. So it's, again, the shortest telomeres. You don't care so much about the average length, because a man could have long hair or short hair. It's not going to matter. But if you have a bald spot, then you get cellular dysfunction. And if you get that in terms of a immortal cell, then you have a real problem. So there's a school of thought now that cancer is not from run-of-the-mill cells. It's from these recharging hybrid immortal cells called stem cells. And that's the real issue. So it is. Even if you take it for a short time, I truly believe that you're pushing back your appointment with these bad outcomes, whether it be burnt-out arterial cells causing atherosclerosis, dysfunctional fat cells that are storing fat inappropriately and insulin-resistant. It's really one disease that we're faced with, and it all stems from the fact that, no pun intended, that the DNA shortens and then allows for damage as we get older. Carrie, you on?
Yes, I am.
Hello. How are you?
She's asking about cirrhosis of the liver.
How does it affect the cirrhosis of the liver in an alcoholic?
Interestingly, we did a show on hepatitis, a gentleman with Hep C, and he had some really good results. But, of course, TA65 is not a cure for anything, nor is that appropriate from FDA, guidelines. But in general, it's just whatever you're trying to do to heal yourself, it makes that process more efficient. So whether it be killing off cells that need to be killed and replaced, or improving the immune system to destroy cells that need to be destroyed, whatever it is that you're trying to do anyway, it just helps that process be more efficient. So it's really more of you trying to get better. And you can do those things by living healthily, as Blackburn showed, by eating and sleeping and meditating, but you can also take a pill. Time is money, but now you can actually buy more quality time for $6 a day. You're only taking, one pill a day, right? So that's only $6. People could give up a latte and a muffin to try it.
Telomerase activation with TA65 is going to hit whatever it is that needs fixing. And it's going to hit that first, and I'm not even going to know what's wrong. It's going to get fixed long before I know about it. Yeah. It's
like spackle for the holes in your DNA, definitely. Got me in the metaphorical mode, Mr. Lawyer. So let me get a couple of these other folks on here. And Rocky, let me put Rocky on too here.
I'm on. Can you hear me?
Hey, Rock. How are you doing?
I'm on. This is Rocky.
Yeah. Do you have any comments on the topic of exercise that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think that you see slight increases in strength. And the longer you use it, those increases become more, Plus your body fat's going down, too.
Now, you're 60 now. Have you lost weight in the midsection?
Well, I've gone down my belt. I've gone from the very last hole on my belt down to hole number 4. So I went from 1 to 4. So that's 3 hole sizes down on my belt.
And how about your lovely bride, Bonnie?
She's doing really well on it too.
Good. And losing weight or feeling good?
Losing weight, more energy, a lot of good things.
Good, lovely.
Increased strength. Picking up our 4-year-old, she can pick her up like that.
Right. All right. Well, thanks for joining in the call here. Really appreciate it. Anything else you want to add, Brock?
No, that's about it.
Okay, thanks.
Just do it.
Do it. Yep.
Yeah.
Do it. Thanks. See what? Kent, are you there?
Hey. Yeah,
Hi,
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Kent, you're my guest for the hair show. Tell the folks about what happened to your hair.
Yeah, it changed color.
Wow.
And it was like really light blonde, and then it went to medium blonde, kind of dirty blonde color, like it used to be when, like, maybe teenager. kind of interesting.
Now, how
I
old
could
are you?
also
Ken? Can you tell the folks how old?
69.
Okay.
69.
So you really weren't expecting your hair to darken like that?
No. No, not at all. Because I think you know that I was taking HGH. What would be the impact of that? Would you slide backwards as quickly as you move forward?
That's a good question. To answer that, go to YouTube, type in Dr. Park 65, and one of our patients, Larry, was talking about contrasting 7 years of HGH versus TA65, and it is different. HGH is a bit more anabolic. You get more of a surge from that, so there is a little bit of a letdown. Whereas TA65, for the people that, and a lot of people will do this, they'll just be like, wow, this can't be all happening, so they'll stop for 2 weeks and see if it's really placebo. And sure enough, they go back to feeling the normal daily routine, which is, good and bad. But when you're taking it, you just have so much more energy to exercise. But I think it's important to emphasize it's not just about losing weight or performing in the gym. It's about repairing DNA. So you're lengthening the critically short telomeres, you're staving off disease. And that's really what we're most concerned about. So even if you take it for a short time and stop, the benefit persists.
Yeah, you still have a benefit regardless.
Exactly.
And the combination of the two, HGH and TA65 is what I'm trying now. And I want to see what that
do. They're different. Interestingly, one of the common things with the HGH and they both deepen the sleep, which indicates that there's a lot of reparation going on. So that's interesting. But again, I think if you look at the chart of the genes that are upregulated by HGH, it is a little bit more of a broad swath. So I know that TA65 is incredibly safe, non-toxic, and next week we'll do a show on why it couldn't possibly cause cancer. So I know that's another sticking point for a lot of people. So let me.
I have
thanks,
to change
Ken.
my prescription, my lenses.
Oh yeah, you got to get rid of the reading glasses or weaken the reading glasses, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Now I can't see with my glasses on.
That's awesome. Well, it's all good. It's all the upward spiral. So, anyway, thanks again, Ken.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. I'll be talking with you later.
Okay, thanks. Bye. I want to give a shout-out to Courtney Brown, who was one of the few people who actually bought my wonderful comic book that I will once again plug, Maximum Lifespan. Hopefully soon to be done by the Wachowski brothers. So she actually bought it from Hawaii, and actually the shipping was more than the cost of the book. But lovely that Courtney did that, and lovely that she's actually listening in on the call. Thank you. Alrighty. Well, everybody saw who won, so I think we have a winner here. Did everybody see that? Scroll up. Scroll up. Scroll up. I think, is this the right order, guys? Michael Cervantes, going once, going twice. Yeah. We have the list. Número uno, Señor Miguel Cervantes. Number 2, Bill Harrington. 3, Frank Frias. 4, Christy Moss. 5, Jay Mulvey. 6, Penny Lee. 7, Christina Acosta. 8, Bruce Watson. 9, Jason Chewy. 10, no information. Oh, pretty much that's the show. Bye, everybody. Take care. Have a great day.
This